Right, hey guys. So I've been holding this review back for a few days, and the reason for that is because I wanted to make sure that I come into this with a clear mind. And the reason I say that is because, of course, I'm a big fanboy of the zombie genre. And as you all probably know, I am a fan of Zack Snyder as well. Regardless, this film is something that I had to take a step back to look at. And the reason for that is because this is really a film that is true to the like a single creator's vision, and you can really see that in the way this film is taken. And what I mean by that is, if you see that, this should be named Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, because this is an even more Zack Snyder film compared to the Justice League. And if you have seen the film already, you probably know that in the credits there is, directed by Zack Snyder, written by Zack Snyder, screenplay by Zack Snyder, and what's that role? The camera work, director of photography, is also Zack Snyder. So it's truly a kind of very how can you put it, like focused film. Really focuses on one creator's ideas. And I'm sure Zach has got a lot of ideas from his crew, from his cast, and all of this, his producers and whatever, his co-writers, and so on and so forth. But you can really tell that this is really, really true to its core, which is, just throwing out a film that is full of these amazing cinematic shots, cool slow motion effects as usual. And then also there's that story, which is very kind of cliche, self-questioning, self-reflective, and it really takes you in another step, not forward in the zombie genre, but a step back to look at the zombie genre as a whole. And I know you may be thinking, why are you being so philosophic? It's just a zombie film, it's just a bloody action film. But if you really look at it, it's not taken that way. The film is taken in a very conceptual manner. And if you know Zack Snyder, a lot of his films actually have a lot of symbolism, a lot of mythology, and a lot of concept involved in the way they're taken. And of course, there's plenty of Easter eggs. There's plenty of throwbacks to shots from older films. There's a lot of cool stuff, ideas and whatever in this film as well. That's not done in other films. But regardless, it's that mash, you know, and it straight up stands out in your face as, what can you put it, pop culture, which is what this film is solely made out of. The zombie, movies became a genre because people liked the concept of, a kind of bio weapon or disease that's attacking humanity, and people have to unite to stand up against it. And we always have problems, right? People are constantly fighting. Like, we don't need aliens, we don't need things to come and take out the world. Will still be fighting. But because we have other threats, besides ourselves, it actually gives us a reason to unite. And I think that's the real concept of the zombie genre that pulls people back to it. But aside from that, it's cool because it gives you a reason to, do all the crazy stuff that you would not do normally in real life. And Americans, especially, I think they live it because in America you have, no, you have like laws for guns that allows you to hold firearm. In other countries, civilians can't hold guns. But in America, if you have a license to hold a gun, and even if you're a civilian, you can. Whereas if in most other countries, if you're a civilian, in order to hold a weapon, you must have like really, really strong, credentials, really high ranking. As an officer, even if you're a civilian, you have to be a really like important person to be allowed to hold a gun. You can't just go to a shop and say, I want to apply for a gun license. Go for an exam, and go to like a shooting range, take the classes from an expert who's ex-military. You can't do that. You have to be ex-military. You have to be police. You have to be a minister. You have to be really high rank in a lot of other countries. So I think Americans like zombie movies for that reason because it allows them to use all the cool stuff that they have in their house, all the weapons, and people generally, they like to fight and whatever. So I think, I mean, not Americans, I mean, people in general, they love fighting, like action. So I think that's another thing about the zombie trope. So you have all of these reasons, right, for a zombie movie to exist perfectly in the world. But on top of all of that, Zach really shows us that the entire pop culture of a zombie movie has been, like pretty well put out, right? You always have a team that's having problems internally, and then they have the threats of the zombie externally. And then there's that cliche plot line of things going bad just because they have to, and people dying just because they should. Because if you want to take a movie with high stakes, you got to show that the reasons you're holding guns is because your life is actually at risk. You're not just going to go into a gunfight and not expect to get hurt. You're not going to go into a horde of flesh-eating monsters and not expect to get eaten or bitten. And the chances of survival are low. And clearly the one person they let live was the youngest person on the team. And I think that's very, very nice of a movie to do because it's totally predictable. And I think a lot of people could have taken that guess. And despite it being predictable for you to know that the youngest character lives, you're still allowed to question all the other characters, and their roles and their sides that they're taking, and what's the true story behind it. And this story does a lot of what you call show don't tell, and I really like that. That's what Zack Snyder does a lot. They don't do a lot of self-explaining. They don't say, "Oh, the reason we're doing this is for this, blah blah." And then even there's a scene where the crew actually is almost opening the vault, and then there's like a bunch of bodies there, and one of the characters actually says, what's his name? How did is it something Vanderho, right? So Vanderho actually looks at it and says to Dieter that, oh, these people, are us, maybe in an alternate reality or an alternate timeline, and they've already done what we're trying to do, and that's the reason why they're there, and we're redoing it. And then if you really look closely at the scenes, those zombies on the ground actually do have some of the items worn by the cast on them. I believe everyone on the right side of the screen, these four, are actually there on the ground, and these three are the ones that are not that are not there. They're missing. So yeah, I found that was pretty interesting. And all these things, they seem to be thrown at you like randomly just to make fun of things. But then again, at some point, you stop thinking that, oh, Zach's just messing with us. He's just throwing these clues out there just to confuse us or just to entertain us, or it's just for fun. But not necessarily, because what if it is true? And if you can totally go to another film, where it is made true, and you wouldn't question it, you would just learn to accept it. And that's how I like how this film actually left things, clues such as the zombie robots. A lot of people may have missed it during the first viewing. Keen observers may have seen the shimmers of blue during the death of Zeus, the the prime zombie, like above the alphas, and then the original, right? And then there's the blue in the alpha's baby that I believe the queen was having with Zeus, zombie baby. That also questions the possibility, are zombies actually dead because they are able to conceive, they're able to do, like things that the living would be able to do, which makes you realize that zombies, they can't be dead. I mean, if they really are dead, that's only when you blow their brains out. So until the brain stops working, they're still alive. They have something holding them together. And I think a lot of it has to do with their perception of pain and anger and emotions. A lot of things are missing in a zombie, which is what makes them survive. And that's kind of true in a lot of people as well. A lot of survivors are actually people who are capable of keeping aside their emotions and pain in order to take the next step. And I think zombies are just doing that so naturally that they're able to survive near fatal wounds so long as they're not truly fatal. And that's another thing, of course. And then the robot zombies, Zach said in an interview, I believe, that what if the government is keeping these zombies to actually kind of meld among the actual zombies and keep an eye on things. They're kind of like AI zombies that are just there to record and observe because they have some experiment that they want to use these zombies for, which is why the zombie was initially being shipped by Area 51. It could have been used as a bioweapon in another country, so it's being shipped to actually be tested overseas. And also, if you look at the very first shot in the scene, there's a bunch of UFOs in the sky, and a lot of I believe a lot of like Easter egg videos would have already shown that. But there's a bunch of UFOs in the sky that take off, and I think this really expands the universe to say that, I mean, humans alone could not have done this. We alone may not have the technology to create zombies, which seem really advanced for a bioweapon, right? Like a single bite, you turn, and it seems really easy. And of course, there's that the ending where Vanderhood takes time to turn. He gets bitten, but he doesn't turn right away. He takes quite a bit of time to turn, and it is possible that right, like shortly after he was locked in the vault, right before he turned, it is possible that the type of bite was a shallow wound, which is the first thing. You can clearly see that Zeus really bites into people and tears their flesh a little bit, as he did with the police officer when he was turning him. And he couldn't do that to Vanderhoek because it was a quick bite, and then Dieter kind of attacked him. And then also Vanderhoek came out into a nuclear like an area that was blown by a nuke. So it's possible that the radiation delayed the infection long enough for him to actually get onto a plane. So he was clearly going to die from the radiation after a while, but it's possible that the zombie virus in him was keeping him alive a little longer, while the radiation was keeping him in human form a little longer. So these two things could be fighting each other. So a lot of the things that happen actually have self-explanatory kind of convenience to the plot. So if you really watch it and rewatch it, you get an idea that things are happening for a reason, and nothing is there just because they're actually done with purpose. And there's a lot of things that also, as I said, show don't tell. People don't just talk about it. You really have to observe. You really have to think, how did this tiger come to be? Why is there robot zombie there? Why is there a zombie with blue eyes? Why is Zeus's head glowing blue? So all of these blues are kind of the clues that is left behind, as though in a video game, right? And then also I found the characters, meaning the each actor and each character in this film, all likable. Everyone was likable. Everyone did their part. Everyone had their own thing going on. The only thing that, of course, was very cliche is the whole politics and kind of like drama between the characters in a zombie film. Like most of the time, when you think about it, it's not just people fighting each other that causes them to die. It's a drama. It's because people are in love and people want to stop and talk and people want to turn around. And I mean, if you really think about it, in the earlier films, zombies are way too slow. There is no way a zombie is going to catch up to you. But in these films, the zombies are fast. And despite the zombies being fast, characters are still wasting time. They're standing there chit-chatting. They're standing there telling each other they love each other despite having like 5 minutes for a nuke to hit. And I believe this is a very cliche plot. It is sort of done on purpose. And the reason for that is because it is taking a like kind of like a it's tugging on the legs of the previous films that do this on purpose. Like for example, The Walking Dead. If everyone The Walking Dead just kept their army aside, they could have just built a fort and survived the apocalypse and ended it. But no, they had to just drag on the drama for like 8 seasons. And if not for the drama, you know, The Walking Dead would have ended. So it's sort of like still pulling on that at the same time. It also really tests the acting of each character, and I feel that Dave Bautista especially got the role he really deserved. He really, showed that he kind of shines. Okay, that was weird. I don't know why it went off for a sec. So it shows that he really shines in this kind of role of being a father, being a kind of emotional warrior. A warrior that is allowed to feel and believe and trust and love and cry. All these kinds of things. And I felt that this crew as a whole that was put together by Zach was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And of course, I believe this guy was not in the film, right? It was actually the military officer or something. I mean, sorry, the bodyguard. And the bodyguard's role is another thing. He was just added there for extra, like something to show. And this brings back a lot of people to the question of if Tanaka, it is his vault in his casino, how come he does not know the code to it, right? So there's two possible things. One, Tanaka could have said to, like, especially, let's say you are a billionaire, right? And you have like $200 million or $1 billion worth of fortune in a vault. The safest thing for you to do is to get a security officer to handle it for you. Pay him to keep everything in check. And you should not be memorizing those codes or keeping those codes somewhere. Because a lot of millionaires and billionaires just, I mean, I'm not poking at anyone, but just to be, quite frank, a lot of them have a lot of accounts, bank accounts, vault accounts, like, I mean, vaults, bank accounts, share accounts, properties, and a lot of these involves a lot of different combinations of codes, passwords, and stuff. And if they remembered all of it by themselves, they would be an easy target of ransom. You could just kidnap them and tell them, give me all your money, I want all your passwords, or you just hack into their phone and you get all the information. So a lot of these millionaires and billionaires, what they do is they buy their security and they tell the security to handle these things because usually securities do it better. So it is possible that Tanaka never knew the combination to his own safe. He had someone in charge, and that someone is gone now. Meaning he had like a casino owner with security who actually handled his business for him, and he just like like was a superseer, sorry, overseer and supervisor and then superseer. That was pretty cool. And then when the casino just needs a new influx of money, that owner kind of opens and releases the money, and if Tanaka asks, he transfers it to him. But Tanaka has no relation to the combination of the vault himself. That's the first possibility. The second possibility is that someone messed up. Tanaka had sent a team before this crew, as shown, and it is possible that that team came and they had messed up the combination in the vault. Because, as mentioned by Dieter, the vault has a self randomizing mechanism where if you mess up the combination, you have to redo it, and it has changed in terms of combination, which is what makes the vault so insanely secure. And unless you have the key to unlock the combination, even after it randomizes, usually there is a key. It's sort of like when you hash a Wi-Fi password, right? There is a key. It's just that no one knows what the original key was. But once you know the original key, you'll be able to decode it, sort of. So I believe the lock works in the same way, but without knowing the original key, no one is able to do it by themselves. So usually these kinds of locksmiths, what they do is they try to figure out what the key combination is, and by listening to those little minute clicks, they eventually realize that the key combination is what they think it is and it unlocks. And so it is also possible that the previous team that came to unlock the safe messed up, and then the randomization mechanism took place because it's a zombie apocalypse. You can see all of them are dead, right? So it is possible that someone came in not dying, managed to get through everything, screwed up the mechanism, and then had to make an escape through that side vent or whatever, and then they made an escape through that vent. So it is possible. And then the second crew just never made it past the fence and then blew themselves up and died down there. And we don't know how many other crews came, right? Because apparently there's one or two plans on the table. There could have been more plans that were taken, off scene or whatever. So it's also possible that another crew that came was not Tanaka's team. They were sent by someone else to steal from Tanaka's safe, and then their locksmith messed up the combination and initiated the randomizing mechanism, and that caused all the other crews to fail until this crew brought Dieter, and Dieter was the genius who was able to unlock the safe by himself through the randomizing mechanism without the need of anyone's help. And unless you have someone like Dieter, there's no other way to for them to have opened the safe. So I felt that was pretty much the only way to, there are two possibilities, right? Two possibilities. But I like the fact that there are these possibilities, instead of people just saying, why didn't he just give the combination to the safe? Well, obviously he doesn't know the combination. If he knew it, he would have given it. Why doesn't he know the combination? Maybe he never knew it in the first place, as I explained. Secondly, well, someone knew it and they messed it up. So he probably knows that it's messed up now and there's no way they'll be able to open it. Because as you can see when you look at the safe, there's no other keyhole, there's no other slots for any cards, there's no other mechanism that allows you to unlock this safe besides those four knobs that allow you to, fiddle with them. So yeah, that's about it. So anyway, now that I've settled most of the other holes and most of the character complications, getting to the music in this film is amazing. As I've already mentioned, the visuals and the cinematography in this film is a 10 out of 10. The camera with the dream lens, the low focus, right? The kind of blurry film. I didn't like it. Personally, I didn't like it. I know you're going to think, oh, he's a fanboy. He's probably going to say he loves it. No, I didn't like it. I would like my films to be sharp and crystal clear. Like, no one is paying for 4K if they're going to get blurry stuff like this. We want really clear shots. So I like Zach's effort of using the dream lens. I felt it was very personal because it really brings you these close-up shots. It feels really good close-up because it puts that character into focus to tell that person's story in detail. But at the same time, just having everything else blurry in the background really makes you, feel really weird. So I didn't like that. The music, of course, as I said, is a brilliant. Every song is livable all the way to the end when he plays zombie. And I like how the song zombie was played. It's not just because it says zombie, but because of the fact that it has those lines that tell you, another hit hangs slowly, a child is taken, which actually is based on a story of a child actually being killed and whatever. And it's a political song. You have to go and look it up. All right. So read through it, please. Anyway, it's a political song, and I feel that this movie is actually very political because all of these characters are technically scapegoats. They are only in this situation because some rich man wants you to do his bidding to get his money and put your life at risk. And everyone who lives today in the corporate world are just victims of these big corporations. And as you can see, the whole army of the dead is caused by a big corporation. This team putting their lives at risk is caused by a big corporation. And as you can see towards the end of the film, Bly Tanaka is just sitting peacefully in his own penthouse, just sipping on his bourbon or whatever, and he's just chilling there. And that whole fact that he is just completely out of this, like the big guys, the top guys are never involved, is what really shows you how political this film is, as is a lot of other things in our real life. So I really like that. Is really conceptual, artistic, well presented, and that's pretty much it for the music as well and the story as well. If you ask me overall, is this film the greatest zombie film ever made? Maybe, maybe it's going to take you a few years to realize that this was the film that started a whole new chain of zombie films that would change the course of history. Is it the best film ever made? No, by far, definitely not. It is nowhere near a lot of other good films, and I think I'm going to give it a fair rating. Despite being a fanboy and all, I have to be fair, and I felt that this was a really good zombie movie. It started off with a very classic kind of scenes of zombies, just like just stupid situations. People end up in stupid situations, and that is how the zombies start to spread. And as expected, they turn out to be in the best place possible to do so, Las Vegas, and the government gets involved obviously, and things get out of control obviously, and then people are just there to live their own lives and they get caught up in the mess, and they're more relatable that way. And I felt overall it was a beautiful story, and a good ending as well. If you guys haven't watched it, please do so, because this is a spoiler review, as you know, and I hate giving spoilers to people who have not watched good films. So let me pull up the rating for you guys. There you go. It is a 7 out of 10 into the sunset. And the reason I'm going to give it a 7 and not higher or lower is, well, two reasons. First of all, is because it's not the greatest film in the world, but at the same time, it is a beautiful zombie film. It is a really, really, really good zombie film. And compared to a lot of other zombie films, this is a win for me. Compared to a lot of other films as well, it is still a win for me. The gaps and the plot holes and all of these things, I believe, are left for a reason. The show Don't Tell is also making it difficult for people to realize things in the first viewing. So you got to watch it second and third time, and then you start to theorize. And I believe a lot of these holes are also left so that people can come up with their own theories. And don't get me wrong, a lot of other cinematic universes do this as well. Even the MCU does it. A lot of cartoons do it. Even like Rick and Morty, especially, they do it. They leave plot holes actually in the stories if you realize, and it's for a reason. They want people to debate over it, and I like how this film has done it in such a way that these plot holes actually have self-explanatory possibilities. Like you don't have to think too far to why a guy doesn't know the combination to his own safe. It is definitely possible. Trust me, I have trained a lot of professionals in some things that I do. Is my work is in IT, and when you're in tech support or when you're in just tech work or in project management, doesn't matter because I've climbed that ladder already, right? So through my experience, I realized that a lot of big people that I've spoken to, like really high ranking officers, they can't remember their password and their logins for like five different things. They don't save it anywhere. Some of them save it in a paper and they stick it somewhere and other people can see it. They really mismanage passwords. And trust me, when I saw Blight Tanaka not knowing the password to his own safe, I felt like, yep, that's totally reasonable. Rich people just don't remember anything except for their ATM account number when they need to withdraw money. For every other reason, they don't. Like no one is going to remember, the combination of their gold safe. They don't. They usually get security guys to do it for them. And if they do, usually it's a really tiny safe and it's a really personal safe. It's the one you keep in your house. You remember that, but not something that you keep like in the middle of a city. You don't. That's a crazy idea to remember a combination of something like that. Because if you get caught or your phone gets hacked, it's all over, right? So yeah, anyway, I felt that certain things were super self-explanatory and pretty cool, and the radiation slowing down the infection, these kinds of things, and all that. But there are so many things that could have been done more in this film because the film had a 2 hour, 2.5 hour runtime. It was a really long runtime, and it took its time to build the characters, which I really liked. But I felt that Zach really held back on the action scenes, and it's totally possible because the budget for this film was not as extensive as a lot of other heavy CGI films. You compare this budget, I think it's like 70 or 80 million. It's nowhere near the budget of like really high budget CGI films. And I felt that if there was really slightly more budget, we could have seen a lot more cooler scenes, especially like the stuff where the zombies wake up when it rains or something. But we know it's Vegas, so it's not going to rain. It's very rare for rain to occur. But maybe we may see a sequel or something or a prequel where there is a rain scene and zombies do wake up and it's going to be super slow motion and it's freaking cool in Zack Snyder's style. And I can't wait for all that awesomeness to happen. And I really hope you guys check out this film. If you're a zombie fan, you'll love this film. If you're just a hater for no reason, you're gonna hate this film because you hate everything anyway that Zack does, so it doesn't really matter. But if you don't know about Zack Snyder and you just want to watch a good film and you don't really care who the director is, you don't really care about anyone's vision or whatever, you just want to just go watch a film for fun. This is totally a fun film. I watched it with some people who had no idea or didn't even care what Zack was, and they loved it. They told me they loved it as well, and I find that really cool. I find that really awesome. We really need more lore in the zombie genre because it has been overdone and repetitive, and I felt this thing brought a lot of fresh things to it, and it really gave us a lot more to talk about. And we're going to be talking about this film for a really long time to come. And whenever people talk about a zombie film in the future, they're going to refer back to this film because it had so many Easter eggs and plot holes and little things in this film that allows you to fill up for yourself and build a new movie out of it. And I saw a lot of low budget films like being released recently. I think one was called I don't know, Shock of the Dead or something, but it's just something funny that I saw and I really want to check it out. So anyway, that's it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.